If every man really thinks about the women who they really fell in love with, they all had one quality about them. They had an inner man inside of them. They had a masculine edge to their personality. Too many women today are trying to become feminine. They become polarized. They have restricted their personality to fit into society. They have lost their inner freedom to express who they really are. They're told who to be and they're told who not to be. Oh shit. Fucking man. And as a result, they become one-dimensional. Either they become a pushover or they become way too masculine to the point of feminizing the men they date. Just like men have misunderstood what it is to be a man, which is learning how to have masculine energy, but sprinkling in some feminine energy. It is what makes me as a man more of myself. It is what makes me as a man more fascinating to women. In the same light, a woman who has become way too feminized, who has become way too polarized in the opposite direction, where the pendulum swings too far to the left, they have lost a part of themselves, a part of their personality. They have not given that salt to that meal. And because of this act, they begin to resent the opposite sex because they sense that they're being taken advantage of. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to be. And as a result, they become way too feminine, just like men who have over-identified with their masculine side. When you, as a woman, over-identify with your feminine side, you become a pushover. You are perceived as weak, and deep down, you feel weak. You don't know how to act in certain circumstances because at the end of the day, you have lost touch with who you really are. You are not just the feminine side of your personality. You are also the masculine side. You weren't just born to a woman. You were also born to a man. Deep inside of you, you have something that Carl Jung called the anima and the anima, the inner man and the inner woman, because we are all born complete. We have many sides of us that are yearning to come out, that have been repressed. And how do you know they're repressed? Because whenever we find someone who has fully integrated their masculine and the feminine, we become attracted to them. That's why people like Prince are so attractive. That's why people like Madonna are so attractive. Women like Rihanna are so attractive. Men like Russell Brand, men like Obama, men like David Bowie. But whenever we encounter someone who has over-identified with one side of their personality, we find them repulsive. We think of Miranda Priestly as a woman. Some might say Donald Trump. Not me. I am not over-identified. I am a masculine man. I have a feminine side to my personality. Shut up, Donald Trump. And even me as a man, I remember I used to be called arrogant, cocky. And the reason was, it was because I wasn't embracing my feminine. Too much over-identification turns the other gender off. As a man, it scares women away. And as a woman, it turns your femininity into a weakness. It makes men take advantage of you. And because of that, you tend to equate being feminine as a weak thing. And so some women either become even more hyper-feminine or go towards the hyper-masculine. Either way, they end up losing. So today I want to show you how to embrace your masculine side while remaining feminine. How to be hyper feminine while maintaining some masculinity. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing more addictive than seeing a woman who has a little bit of assertiveness to her personality and yet is feminine. Let me tell you something about assertive women. That men who are bullies, actually have more kids. Men who are bullies are perceived to be more attractive. Why? Because from a woman's perspective, they see him as someone who at the end of the day, through whatever means, he's going to provide resources to the children. That's been deeply wired throughout millions of years of natural selection. And then as a man, naturally, women who are bullies end up with the higher status men. They usually bully the quote unquote weaker women in their schools, and they end up dating the quarterback. Shows like Mean Girls, like movies like Mean Girls, where the hot girl is a bully, and so she makes fun of the weaker girl. Okay guys, if you guys are enjoying this video, don't forget there's a free ebook and audiobook on the description down below. Just put your email and I'll send it straight to your inbox. It's about how to get a guy to chase. Also, we have one-on-one coaching. My website there, you can book a call, know exactly when I'm available, know exactly the times, right? As you can see, there's a schedule. You guys can book a call. And the beauty about it is that you know exactly when to talk to me. So just click on the description down below. The calls are completely confidential. And above all, check out the Patreon for more exclusive content. Let's continue with the video.
All the plastics are in the same gym class. Where's the plastic? And evil takes a human form in Regina George.
But she's actually dating the highest status man.
She may seem like your typical selfish, backstabbing, slut-faced hoe bag, but in reality, she is so much more than that.
Why? Because men find women who have some assertiveness more attractive.
One time, she punched me in the face. It was awesome.
You can have a woman who's naturally docile, and then a woman who can have an aggressive personality to the point where she could be a bully.
Jason, she's not interested. Do you want to have sex with him?
No, thank you.
Good. So it's settled. So you can go shave your back now.
As long as she maintains some feminine edge, some femininity to her personality, a man's gonna find her more attractive. Why? Because me as a man, I'm observing that when things go wrong, deep down, you're gonna secure some resources through hook or crook. You're gonna secure some resources for the kids. If there's a pandemic, if there's a famine, at the end of the day, you're gonna secure resources for the kids. You have to stop imagining that you have to conform to a certain gender role. That's the first thing. You have unconsciously tried to consciously integrate your feminine side and consciously push away your masculine side. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last thing you want to do. Because having too much femininity sometimes just makes a man who's naturally docile more aggressive. You want to learn to become more of an integrated woman, where you have developed a fluidity with the gender roles you take up. Because having the ability to play different roles and to play on your masculine when it's necessary and to play on your feminine when it's necessary gives you power. If you as a woman integrate your masculine side, women will admire your strength and men will feel a natural attraction towards you. For example, there was one time a girl that I met at my school many years ago that she had a feminine look. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, her body was feminine as fuck. I mean, not that her body was feminine as hell, but that she looked like a sporty girl. You know what I'm saying? Like a girl who was very sporty. And heck, you might even think she was lesbian, and she wasn't. But she was hiding her body. Like one day she wore a dress and my God, she was packing, ladies and gentlemen. She had the heavies. To put it in a lighter word, she had the heavies, man. And I was like, oh my God. Here I am thinking this girl was one of these sporty, super masculine girls. And then one day I saw her feminine side in personality and in the way that she looked. Ladies and gentlemen, I developed a deep crush on that girl. It was unbelievable. Lord have mercy. It was back in Florence. It was unbelievable, people. But another girl that has an example of that she is this girl. Maybe she's watching this, which I don't mind if she watches this. But when you look at her, she looks like a super masculine girl. Right? She looks like a girl who's lesbian, but she's not. She rides a bicycle, like a motorbike. She wears like not crop tops, but you know, shirts that are like this. She has a short hair. But then when you really look at her, when you really get to know her, you realize that she's a super feminine girl who, if you just look at her from the outside, you'll think that she's feminine. I mean, you think that she's a super masculine girl. But then when you get to know her, you realize she's a feminine ass girl. And she likes to be courted. She likes to be treated as like a little girl. And even in bed, she is super feminine. But from the outside, she's not. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to be able to learn is that whatever you are on the inside, learn to display the opposite on the outside. It creates more intrigue. That's the first part, right? So, for example, look at a picture of this man right here. Is a man with a tattoo, with a bunch of tattoos, but with a dog, right? He's like a baddie with a sensitive side, right? It's the same thing. It's the opposite with a man. When you look at Prince, you imagine that Prince has a voice like this, but in reality, the motherfucker sounds like Tyrone, the personal trainer, when he talks.
Sometimes I do, but I think they are vicariously living through these image changes,
right? And that makes women find him more irresistible. So it's the same thing here. Just having that appearance will deter some people from trying you, because if you're feminine on the inside and you look masculine on the outside, even a hint of masculinity through the way that you dress, or even what you ride, or even the career path you pick, some men will not be tempted to try you, right? Now, the second part that you have to understand is that you have to develop an inner assertiveness. If you don't have that inner assertiveness, that willingness to confront people, the willingness to handle uncomfortable moments of confrontation, if you do not have that, you're gonna break at the point of pressure.
The best way to fight off aggressors is to keep them from attacking you in the first place. To accomplish this, you must create the impression of being more powerful than you are. Build up a reputation. You're a little crazy. Fighting you is not worth it. You take your enemies with you when you lose. Uncertainty is sometimes better than overt threat. If your opponents are never sure what messing with you will cost, they will not want to find out. Play on people's natural fears and anxieties to make them think twice.
So if you know deep down that you have that side, unfortunately, you can't count on your instincts. So what do? Well, you do it conceptually. When you naturally defend, attack. When you naturally want to retrieve, take steps forward. Now, if you're a masculine woman, right, and you know you're masculine, then I would say the same thing. If you naturally attack, retreat. If you naturally retreat, attack. Why? Because a lot of the times we have conditioned ourselves to behave in a certain way that naturally we don't know what directions to take. So if you already know the patterns in you, sometimes just going the opposite direction takes you in the right direction. Like a few years ago, I became more secluded, where I was naturally not social. So then I decided, you know what, I gotta go in the opposite direction. So I began going, when naturally I would say no to meetups, then I began saying yes. I began going in the opposite direction of my instinct to seclude myself. And it opened up my personality. I became the person who I used to be. Let me put this up, people. These flies are annoying. They're living hell out of me. Now, the next thing is that you have to develop assertiveness. See, when you were a child, this assertiveness that I'm talking about is naturally in you. When you were a child, girls are naturally assertive. If you really pay attention, you'll notice a little girl's assertiveness through trying to transform her environment, playing little games, constructing little fantasy worlds, changing the way her environment looks. That is a natural assertive energy. But expectations are dumped down on you girls, and as a result, you drown the natural assertiveness that made you unique as a little girl. You sacrifice your assertiveness, and men have to sacrifice their empathy. And so your task is to free yourself from the rigidity of the gender roles that were given to you. And for women in this part, is to learn to become more assertive in the following way. Now, this is why a lot of you ladies are attracted to dominant, assertive men. If you have some assertiveness to your personality, you will naturally be attracted to men who are assertive in a healthy way. But if you have drummed out and sacrificed your natural assertive energy, you'll be attracted, almost like to overcompensate for the lack of your assertiveness, you'll be attracted to domineering men, where these men, where most people will see them as domineering and narcissistic, you will, through a projection, you will interpret their toxicity as attractive, their jealousy as protectiveness. And as a result, you will learn to be stuck in a cycle of dating men who have what you're missing. So in order to fix this projection, you have to give yourself and fulfill in yourself what you are lacking. First, know your yeses and nos. Think in your life the moments when you knew those were moments of clear disrespect. And in your mind, figure out what are those consequences. What are those consequences? What is an appropriate consequence? Because, again, we create patterns. And there are patterns of disrespect that keep repeating themselves in your life. What that is individually to you. But you keep seeing the same kind of disrespect in your life. The same kind of disrespect in your life. And so what you have to do is develop an inner man, find an authority figure, someone who you admire that's a man or a woman who has an inner sense of security, and start thinking in your head, what would they do in that situation? You know that saying, what would Jesus do? Well, think about it. What would Tyrone do? Start internalizing a man in your life. Maybe you were missing a masculine figure in your life, and as a result, you don't have that inner voice. So you have to internalize it. Find a man to admire. Find a public figure who you could use to internalize and ask them, what would you do in this situation? And then once you see the disrespect, internally learn to white knuckle it, bite the bullet, deal consequences towards people who disrespect you in that way. What will happen is this: a lot of the times you're not going to have to bring out your sword. A lot of the times you're not going to have to bring out your shield, but people will sense that there is strength in you, and through peace there will be strength. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are willing to pick up your sword and fight, people will sense that in your demeanor, and they won't try you. And if they do, then you are willing to attack. You are willing to get into battle.
Instead of trying to avoid conflict or whining about the injustice of it all, consider an option developed over the centuries by military leaders and strategists to deal with violent and acquisitive neighbors: reverse intimidation. This art of deterrence rests on three basic facts about war and human nature. First, people are more likely to attack you if they see you as weak or vulnerable. Second, they cannot know for sure that you're weak. They depend on the signs you give out through your behavior, both present and past. Third, they are after easy victories, quick and bloodless. That is why they prey on the vulnerable and weak.
All of this will marinate your senses. All of this will marinate even the way you speak. Even the body language will become marinated by this strength and assertiveness. I want you guys to develop this inner strength. Ladies and gentlemen, when you develop this inner strength, men will find you irresistible. It is not, because this is not just for the moment when people disrespect you. This will radiate from within. This willingness to attack people who disrespect you, not from a place of overcompensation, not from a place of aggressiveness, but from a place of true power. From a place of, if you disrespect me, I will do this. This will just marinate your femininity with a masculine edge. And it's like having a steak with the right amount of salt, ladies and gentlemen. Women will admire you and men will find you irresistible. Every woman, I may be projecting when I make this video, but I know this even with my friends, every woman who I became obsessed with had this quality. Even in my friends that I talk to had this quality. And this quality will also show itself through her being willing to walk away. Because this is what happens, is that when you get over-identified with your feminine, this femininity causes you to be too forgiveful. This femininity causes you to be too supportive, even to people who mistreat you. See, this is a problem with a lot of people, with a lot of women nowadays who are over-identified with the feminine side. They're too forgiving. They don't know the benefits of not letting go of the bullshit that some people do. They don't know the benefits of not forgetting the disrespect. They don't know the benefit of having a little resentfulness to your personality. It's there to protect you. Do not completely erase that part of your personality. There are some people who should not be forgiven. There are some people who you should never forget the negative things that they do. And unfortunately, if you're somebody who's too empathetic, if you're somebody who's too nurturing, if you're somebody who's too loving, or come from a religious background where they teach you to forgive people who hurt you, you will become a pushover. You will become a pushover. And if you watch this video and you want to tell people you watch my channel, you're going to have to change that part of your personality. You're going to have to drum it out, and it's not easy. Because the first time this happens to you, you will fail. You will remember what Father Alex said, and you get like, God dang it, I did it. I did exactly what he said I was going to do. And that's totally fine. What you're going to do is learn through failure. Learn to hold on to a little bit of anger. Learn to hold on to a little bit of resentment, just a little bit. Enough for you to not forget the bullshit that people do. Enough for you to not forget how it feels to be played, how it feels to be disrespected. And so you use that anger, that positive energy, and you hold it in and you let that marinate all of your senses. So if you're somebody that's super feminine and you apply this, you might think you're overdoing it. But what will happen is that holding on to a tint of that energy, it'll radiate as confidence. It's the demeanor in someone who's willing to fight and doesn't want to fight versus somebody who's not willing to fight and can't fight. There's a huge difference in the demeanor. It's the subtle things that you don't notice that gives your weakness away. And you might think, Alexis, but how can people sense that? It's the subtle things, my man, my girl. He's calling me Sandra right now. Get him. Shut up, Melissa. Over-identify with your feminine side too. Stop being so forgiving. Stop letting your love for someone sabotage you. And learn to not tolerate when someone disrespects you. Value self-respect over any man. And you'll notice how men will respect you and become more attracted to you, and women will admire you. Don't go too far and become Miranda Priestly. I don't want you to do that. I want you to develop enough of it, just a tiny bit. Experiment, see what happens. And above all, don't be afraid to get hurt. Don't be afraid to lose a person. Don't be afraid to feel lonely. You grow from pain. You grow from heartbreak. That is how you develop your character, and that's how you prove yourself. that no matter what this person does to me, I'm willing to survive. And so when you're willing to get hurt, when you're willing to die in battle, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing scarier than fighting someone who's willing to die in battle. There is nothing scarier than that. All right, if you guys enjoyed that video, you guys are going to like my new course. It's called The Commitment Blueprint. It's a course that I created for women who are struggling with finding themselves in situationships, finding themselves with men who like them but don't want to commit, finding themselves with giving too much and not getting much in return. And the beauty about getting commitment is that it has nothing to do with, about your looks and more to do about your strategy. Like, I've seen women apply these strategies and get married and have kids and have long-lasting relationships. Why? Because the strategies that I'm going to teach on this course is based on pure psychology. I've been working on this for the past 2 years. And every time I make a promise on my courses, if you guys have gotten my courses, you guys know I over deliver, right? And the reason why I made this course is because a lot of ladies watch my videos, and unfortunately, you guys give too much. You guys love too hard, and that attracts the wrong energy. So it's really about learning how to manage this energy. You're going to attract different types of guys by learning how to control that energy, right? And if you don't believe me, well, guess what? You can find all of these reviews of women who have taken my courses and have achieved the promises in my courses. And look, the beauty about it is that you can pre-order this course for $75 rather than $99. And when the course comes out and you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. I'll give you your money back if you don't like it, and you have 30 days to get your money back. But I'm telling you, I guarantee that if you do exactly what the score says, you will find commitment. And above all, you're going to stop wasting your time with the wrong guys. Because at the end of the day, to find the right guy, it's all about filtering the wrong guys. Eventually, the right guys will filter through. If you just apply what the course says, it'll break the negative pattern of being attracted to guys that are not into commitment. I'm telling you, there's a reason why you attract guys who are not committed. It's because there's a pattern and you're not aware of it. And sometimes you need someone like Father Alex to show you these patterns and in order to break it. Like, I've seen it many times before. Okay, so just pre-order it right now on the description down below. I like to think this is going to be my best course I've ever done in my life. I have that feeling. You know, especially with all the research that I've done, you're going to get results, guaranteed, or your money back. Anyways, take care.